There's one studio that constantly gets privileged by the critics and movie critics, and that's the Walt Disney Company. Like with Moana 2, even the Marvels, which has two movies that nobody really cares for that much. Moana's rigs are not doing too well, which means it won't even hit $1 billion. Disney fumbled the bag on that movie that hard that Moana 2 is not going to hit $1 billion. Kind of like with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which they also gave a good score to on Rotten Tomatoes. But if you still use Rotten Tomatoes to decide what movie you want to see, okay, I honestly have no hope for you, okay, because we have seen clear and clear for years that Rotten Tomatoes should not be the end all be all for a movie being successful, and this year proved it the most. Godzilla, doing well. Sonic 3 will probably get a bad score on Rotten Tomatoes. It will probably do way better than Mufasa the Lion King. But don't worry, Disney had the Disney privilege. 60%. They don't want to have a negative score. Okay? Because they know they're going to try to do everything they can to save this movie. Okay? They want to do everything they can to save this garbage pile of movie, okay? But the movie's not out. You can't call Mufasa the Lion King garbage. Well, I can tell you something. The first Lion King remake was garbage, so why can't the second? I watched the first Lion King, and it looked so ugly. Like, what's the difference between this and a nature documentary? Okay, they spent $200 million. I'm surprised it isn't more. Okay, but they spent $200 million on this. Okay, it will probably still break even because it does have the prestige of being a Disney movie, but considering the fact that this movie already doesn't have like this extremely high score, and I don't think the first Lion King remake had a very high score either, as well. But Disney's trying their hardest to pay enough critics to get a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I think at least for now, it worked. Yes, for now with this movie, it worked. But it's funny that Joker 2 doesn't get the same privilege that Disney movies get. Heck, the first Joker, I know Joker 2 is a garbage movie, but why doesn't Moana 2 have the same score as Joker 2? When it had the same reception. Okay, not as bad as Joker 2 was, but it has a similar reception and people were underwhelmed by the movie. Moana was a, classic in the modern Disney era. Okay, that's why it is one of the most popular movies on Disney Plus. But it just seems that Disney doesn't seem to learn the lesson. Okay, we fought for it. We said that this year Disney, they were had the it was there was a possibility that Disney's year this year will be very, very similar to the unstoppable year Disney had in 2019. But it seems that history is not repeating itself. Summer, they did pretty well with Inside Out 2 and Deadpool 2. But the thing is, people actually liked those movies, okay? People actually liked Inside Out 2 and Deadpool Wolverine. I may have not liked Deadpool Wolverine that much, but it still didn't stop people from going to see it. It still didn't stop the movie from gaining a large fan base. And this is what Disney continues to lack to understand. The Lion King remake does not really have a huge fan base. Okay? I am sorry, but the Lion King remake aged like milk. It means it aged poorly. Okay? This is a movie that aged poorly. Okay? And kind of like a Captain Marvel, this movie's gonna underperform the first movie massively. Okay? The Marvels is another example, okay? The difference between Joker 2's failure and the Marvels' failure is, in this movie's potential failure, is the fact that unlike Joker 2, let's just think about Joker 2, the Marvels, was two sequels to $1 billion grossing movie that didn't do too well. Joker 2, it was because of terrible decisions the filmmakers made, like making the movie a musical. Like, why a musical? We're not allowed to ask questions. But the Marvels, it was because the first Captain Marvel aged so poorly that there was no interest in seeing a Captain Marvel movie. Also, let's not forget about the strand of forgettable Marvel movies before, like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Thor: Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Shang-Chi, even though I like that movie, but it was still kind of forgettable. And of course, let's not forget about the Eternals as well. Okay, and also Black Widow, which I did defend 4 years ago, but that movie is also kind of forgettable as well. But they did kind of rush it out because of the pandemic, so you can just blame the pandemic for the 2021 movies, at the very least. But The only two memorable Marvel movies released was Spider-Man No Way Home, because of nostalgia bait, which for once worked, and it did work with Twisters and Beetlejuice as well, but it didn't work with movies like The Flash and The Marvels, because no one really cared about The Marvels that much. Brie Larson's Captain Marvel is still one of the most disliked Avengers of all time, okay, you know, and she was supposed to replace all of the iconic Avengers like Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk, and Iron Man. These are iconic characters that a lot of people love. Of course, bringing in characters like Deadpool and Wolverine, those are two extremely popular characters. Same thing with Spider-Man. But the problem is, with they're trying to bring, and also I heard news are trying to bring back Captain America now. The real Captain America, not Falcon, the side, like, he's the, like, Falcon becoming Captain America is like Robin becoming Batman. It doesn't make any sense, okay? And in fact, they introduced the whole idea of a multiverse as well, which means you can just get another Captain America from a different universe, and you can just negate the whole thing. Same thing with Iron Man, and same thing with all these other characters, okay? Heck, if they really wanted to, they could just restart the whole thing again, but that would just make it boring and uninteresting. The thing is, the comics have been going on for at least a century now. Almost a century now. The Marvel comics, at least the good, but the good ones aired around the 2000s, though. But this is Disney's, Disney really, I just wonder when is I really do think that those hush money being put around in Disney scores at the very least, because all of the studios don't get this inflated score, okay, on Rotten Tomatoes. And I know it's like Rotten Tomatoes go like, who cares? But there are still people who still trust the thermometer before they go see the movie. It's a small amount of people. It's an ever so declining amount of people, okay, because people really cared about the thermometer that much, and Mad Max, Furiosa would done pretty well. But I think that that Disney is still going to lose money on this movie, despite being a part of one of Disney's biggest franchises, which is The Lion King. Like, why don't they ever make a prequel in the animated form? Okay, I bet people, if The Lion King Mufasa was an animated movie, and it was in the same loving care as the original, people were like, oh my god, this is going to be such an amazing movie, okay? But they decided to make it, actually, Lion King remake prequel, let's make a live action, because Disney hates animation, Disney hates themselves. I just don't get why Disney just continues to do this type of stuff. Like, honestly, Disney watched out Moana 2, okay? When they could have easily said, okay, we'll make a Moana 2. We'll do it, we'll put Elio somewhere else, and we'll put Moana 2 in the summer box office. It could have been that easy, okay? Or let's release Elio around 2024, because Elio was supposed to release this year, okay? Or, no, not this year. It was supposed to I actually think it was supposed to release in 2025, because Inside Out 2. But Pixar was supposed to release two movies this year, Inside Out 2 and Elio, okay? Elio was delayed a whole year, okay? And then it was delayed a couple more months, okay? And then they put out, they sort of released Elio around the same time and dropped Moana 2 to give the movie actually time to cook and be decent. But Disney doesn't care, obviously. They haphazardly put that movie together, and look at how it went. And Mufasa the Lion King looks to lose the Sonic 3 by box office numbers. Here. So, Sonic 3 is expected to still beat Mufasa in the US. But this ain't the global. Okay, that's because Sonic 3 is not started its overseas to Christmas Day. Okay, so Sonic is only the US and Canada. Okay. Yeah. And Sonic is not releasing in other countries until Christmas, which means most of the movies that are coming out, most of the movies box office won't really start until Christmas, outside the U.S. obviously. So really, that's gonna be embarrassing for Disney if Sonic 3 has a bigger global opening, has a bigger international opening than Mufasa on Christmas. Again, this movie Sonic 3 is gonna embarrass Disney at the box office. And yeah, Sonic 3 is not gonna have international numbers until Christmas, but I still think that Sonic 3 will still outgross Mufasa internationally too. It's funny because Sonic is most popular in the United States and Canada, but also probably still do well in Japan and of course Latin America and even Europe and Australia and New Zealand obviously as well. But it will likely do well in Latin America because Sonic is pretty popular in Latin America. Sonic is also pretty popular in Europe and also Australia. Not as popular as in Japan, where it's home country, but I still think it might even outrun the Lion King remake in Japan. But yeah, that's what this video here. And yep, this is an embarrassment for Disney and Mufasa. Goodbye.